Thank you, Aaron. Good morning. So Friday was 11-11-11. And it is said that 11 is a master number. And it is said that on 11-11-11 that you could, call forth what it is you want to manifest in the world. And we're moving toward 2012, and there's all these predictions about what's going to happen in 2012, right? I mean, the Mayan calendar is supposed to end, and all this stuff is up. And, the truth is, it seems like we're always living with predictions about end times, aren't we? I mean, especially if you've been around for a while. I remember 1984 was the big one. That was the big earth changes time that was going to happen. And then, of course, the date came and went, so then it was moved to another date. I think it was maybe 2000, and it keeps shifting and changing. And so some say that 11-11-11 was the actual entry into the age of Aquarius. And whatever it is, I think what is true is that we are entering into a time of change. And Charles Fillmore would define it this way. He would say that we are moving toward the second coming, toward the New Jerusalem. And the difference is that in unity, we perceive the second coming and the New Jerusalem in a different way than in traditional Christianity. So the second coming is not perceived as Jesus coming in on a throne, on a cloud with fire, raising everyone from the dead. Rather, the second coming is about the awakening of the Christ consciousness that is happening in every single person. So it's not some of us, it's all of us. Some of us don't get there and some of us don't. We all wake up together. And so we wake up to that Christ consciousness and we build what is called the New Jerusalem or the New World. So what is this Christ consciousness that we've been talking about for a very long time? Not just unity, but it's been a word that's been around. And it's the Spirit of God within us is what we call the Christ. And the Christ within us is greater than any outer condition that we may experience. Emily Cady said it, that greater is, and they used male language, greater is he that is within me than anything that is in the world. Greater is she that is within me than anything in the world. Greater is the Spirit of God that is in me than anything that is in the world. And she said, Emily Cady said, so you can't be hurt or sick or afraid because greater is the Spirit of God within you than any appearance, anything that's happening in the world. So as we awaken to the Christ consciousness, as we enter into the second coming or the New Jerusalem, what that looks like to me is that we get it. Not just intellectually, but that we understand that we are spiritual beings, that we are the Christ, and that we are in these physical bodies, yes, right now, and we're human, but this is a temporary situation, and the reason that we're here is to fully express the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Christ, the Spirit of love, to take care of this amazing planet that we live on, and to take care of one another. And I think that is the change that we're moving toward in 2012. We are the changer, and we are the changed. We are both. I mean, what is it we know about life? Nothing ever remains the same. And the truth is that, we may say, sure, let's call in the change. That's fun. Let's do that. But who really likes change? I mean, really. When you think about it, who really likes change? We could say, sure, that sounds like fun. But the truth is we don't really change unless things are uncomfortable, right? I mean, when they don't seem like they fit anymore and things just aren't kind of working anymore, it's like, okay, all right, then I'll change. And if we look at the world, the whole world doesn't seem like it fits right now, I mean, our economy isn't working, and, it feels like the government isn't representing the voice of the people, and we have the Occupy movement that's happening, and even within that, there's all these different voices. And I think that's great, because I think it's like, instead of just one voice speaking for everyone, or one target that everybody's focused on, it's like this mixing. It's like the pot is stirring, the stew is cooking, and I think what will emerge will be something better than one person could have thought of, and that is the second coming. So it's not about Jesus coming down and saying, hey, everybody, we're going to do it this way. It's about every single one of us figuring out our dreams and manifesting and living that and calling it forth. Now, here's the kicker. Our dreams call for us to develop new skills. And the way we know that we really have changed is that we're willing to act differently when we're confronted with situations that call out new behavior, right? So you say, oh yeah, I want to do all these great things. And then it's like, all right, here you go. Now, can you do it? Oh, I don't know. Not so sure. We're taking on a new consciousness, and we also need to take on a new form. And it's what Jesus was talking about when he said that you can't take new wine and you can't put it in an old wineskin. Now, in his time, wine was stored in animal skins. And if it was an old wineskin, then it was dried up and it was brittle and it, wasn't so good. And you put new wine in, and the new wine is fermenting and it's expanding. And when you put it in an old wineskin, what's going to happen to it? It's going to crack, it's going to leak, it maybe even will explode, right? And so he said, you wouldn't take new wine and put it in an old wineskin. No, you have to take new wine and you have to put it in a new wineskin. So the wine represents our new consciousness, or a dream, or a new skill, or something that we're seeking to develop. And the new wine is our new habit. Our new wineskin is our habit. It's the body. It's how we're showing up in the world. Because the truth is, when we are pursuing our dream and trying something new, as soon as we hit a wall and it doesn't work, what do we want to do? We were like, forget about it. You know what? The wineskin didn't work. It broke. It leaked. I'm out of here. I'm not doing that. And yet, we're called to do both. So I've had this experience a number of times in my life, and the first that comes up for me is having the dream of wanting to serve God. That was what was most important to me, and many of you have heard my story of how I lived in a yoga ashram, and that was how I served, but it wasn't seeming like it was working for me anymore, and I found unity. And so my dream to serve God took the form of unity. And it took the form of ministry. And I applied for ministerial school. I got in. Well, the new wine, or the new skill that needed to be developed, was public speaking. And I have to tell you that I not only was afraid of public speaking, I was terrified of public speaking. Everything that you read about how people get sick and blah, 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 I won't give you TMI. But that was my experience with public speaking. So I thought, well, I'll be able to go into the ministry without having to do that piece. I'm sure I can figure that out somehow. And I'll never forget the first day of school. Our dean, Hypatia Hasbrook, walked into the room and she congratulated us all for being accepted and how great it was. And she said, and by the way, if you're not here to learn how to be a pulpit minister, and that includes public speaking and all that it entails, there's the door, and I suggest you leave right now. And I thought, okay, but see, that's the point where the wineskin might break, right? That's the point where you might go, forget about it. That fear is so big that I'm not going to face that, and I'm done, and I'm leaving right now. And instead, I stayed, and they were amazing in helping all of us move through that process. We started off with 15 seconds standing in front of the room saying, hi, my name is Karen Lindvig and I'm from Chicago. And I sat down, and that was it. And then the 15 seconds went to 30 to 45 seconds to a minute, up to 5, 10, to we culminated with a full 20 minutes. And what I recognized was I had to develop a new skill in order to manifest the dream, and the dream was to serve God, is it a skill that I would have picked? No, not at all. I thought, well, there's all these other things that I can do and not have to do that. So my question to you right now is, what is the dream that is calling you? What is the dream that wants to come through you right now? And what is the new wine? And not just the new wine, the dream and the consciousness, that's the fun part, but what's the new wineskin? What is the new wineskin that you need to put on, the skills that you need to develop and to face? Okay, so this brings me to really where we are today, because the truth is that when we face these things, it is not fun, right? And I found myself going back to one of my favorite writers, Scott Peck, who wrote the book, The Road Less Traveled, People of the Lie, and he's written a different drama, a lot of different books. He spoke here in the 90s, and he's always been one of my favorite people. He died in 2005. But I think that he has a lot of wisdom to share with us today, because his premise is that life is difficult. And life is a series of problems, and it is through solving the problems and confronting the problems that we gain courage, that we gain wisdom, and that we grow spiritually. And the deal is that confronting problems is no fun. Why? Because it brings up icky emotions like anger and fear and sadness and terror and frustration. And these are the feelings that we would rather avoid. And so what he says we do, instead of confronting the problem, what do? We create a pseudo-problem. So we have a problem in front of us. It's like, okay, let me face that. No, not so much. So I'm going to do something else to avoid that problem. And while I'm doing that, I'm creating another problem. So I'm not like really suffering authentically, right? Because I'm creating things that I don't need to create. He says we attempt to avoid problems through procrastination. Anybody? To forget about them, to pretend they don't exist. Alcohol, drugs, and so we go around them rather than suffer through them. And he said some of us will go to extraordinary lengths to avoid problems, and it becomes a substitute. So think about the skills that you had to develop to manifest all the different dreams you've had in your life. You know, some of us are parents. What are the skills that you had to develop to be a parent? Or you started a new job, or you went to school. There were all these skills and problems that you had to face. So Scott Peck, in all of his wisdom, says, so what do? He said, we need discipline. Oh, fun. This is not fun talk today. And he says the way that we have discipline, one of the ways we do that is we delay gratification. An example is if you like to eat cake, wait on the frosting and eat it second instead of first. He said he had a client who hated her job. You know, she would get to work and she'd spend the first hour doing what she liked, and then the next 6 hours she would spend avoiding the things that she really should have been doing but wouldn't. And he's like, wouldn't it be better if you just did what you didn't like to do the first hour? Then you could have fun the rest of the day. And he worked with her, and she did. So the first hour at work, she got that to-do list that you don't want to look at. She took care of that and then enjoyed the other 6 hours. So delaying gratification is a key to, it's the willingness to feel the yuck, of writing that paper or making that phone call or calling that meeting or whatever it is that you have to do. So the truth is that for me, writing a sermon is a very difficult process. And I know everybody talks about the creative process and how fun it is and how great it is. And the truth is, yes, that's true. It is fun and creative. But for me, writing and stuff like that can be like birthing, It can be like, just a real, and I can be really good at, well, maybe I'll play words with friends for a while. Or maybe I'll do a couple thousand Sudoku puzzles. Maybe I'll clean the kitchen or cook a meal. And what I've learned is I know that that's the mind just running, and sitting and doing and facing. And what I know is when I show up, Spirit shows up. May not show up in the first 20 minutes or even the first hour, but Spirit shows up every time. And for me to sit with that place of uncomfortableness is part of the creative process. And I've learned that that's what it is for me. That's what creativity is for me. So what is it for you in thinking about that? So another part of discipline is having responsibility. And that is to look at our problems, because Scott Peck says, you know what, we got problems. We all got problems, and we can sit and whine and complain about them, or we can solve them. And part of that is having the responsibility to not be a victim and to say, okay, what is my part in this, and what is mine to do? And I love the example that he gave in his book, because he said when he was in school studying to be a psychiatrist, part of the deal was that you would get patients. And most of his colleagues were seeing a patient once a week, patients once a week. Well, he decided to see his patients 3 times a week. And what he found out was that he was working late almost every night, you know? I mean, he was there till 9 o'clock at night, and his wife was getting mad at him, and he was getting really angry because he was watching his colleagues go home at 4:30, and here he was. So finally, he was fed up with this. He went to his supervisor, and he says, there's a problem here with time and scheduling. He said, I'm here, and I'm working every night, 5 nights a week, and everybody else is going home at 4:30, and I want to not receive any new patients. And his supervisor looked at him, and he says, you know what? You are absolutely right. You have a problem with time, and you have a problem with scheduling, and you will still get your new clients. And he was like, this guy is really not very helpful. And he was furious, and he said he walked out of the guy's office, and he thought, this guy is so unhelpful. I have a problem with time and scheduling? Well, of course I do, because I have this. And he said for 3 months, he resented his supervisor. He resented all of his colleagues, and then it dawned on him, wait a minute. I have control over my schedule. I have control over who I see. I'm the one who's choosing to see people 3 days a week instead of 1. And it was like a light bulb went off on his head, and he said, well, of course I'm in charge of my time and in charge of my scheduling. And so he continued that because that's what he wanted to do, but there was a shift. And the shift happened when he was willing to take responsibility and not hand it over to somebody else. Do you see? Because if he had gone to a supervisor and his supervisor took care of it, where would the learning be? Where would the learning be? So we're called to step into that as well. So there are changes afoot. I expect to see so many changes in 2012. They're in the air. The second coming is happening, but it's the awakening of the Spirit of God within each one of us. And because of it, we are each called to pursue our dreams, to follow our dreams. And we do that through putting out our intention, to standing in integrity and keeping our word not only with others but with ourselves, by moving through limiting beliefs. And that's part of what facing problems is about. And then celebrating them and resting before we start again. Recognizing that a dream that you have is going to call forth new skills and abilities. A dream that you have is calling forth new wine in new wineskins. So we have the option of running away as soon as it gets hard, or taking it on and stepping into it. So I'm going to close this talk with something that I have not done before, because I've been thinking a lot about Steve Jobs and what he has given us, and the problems that he had to solve and face, and what a role model he is in so many ways for us. And he's given us lots of toys to play with, hasn't he? So I found this toy. My son showed it to me this week, and it's called Songify. And what Songify does is it takes your words and it puts them into a song. So I'm going to actually sum up the talk and then play it back for you to see if this even works. All right, so here's our points. Whoop, that's wrong. All right. Dream and grow in 2012. Solving problems is how we gain courage and wisdom. It is how we grow spiritually. You are the changer, and you are the changed. You are the new wine. All right, Nick, see if we can get this.
Dream and grow in 2012. Solving problems is how we gain courage and wisdom. It is how we grow spiritually. Dream and grow in 2012. Solving problems is how we gain courage and wisdom. It is how we grow spiritually. Dream and grow in 2012. Solving problems is how we gain courage and wisdom. It is how we grow spiritually. You are the changer, and you are the changed. You are the new wine, and you are the changed. You are the new wine. Dream and grow in 2012. Solving problems is how we gain courage and wisdom. It is how we